Welcome back to another video by Variety of MMOs. My name is Coffee and today I'll be releasing the Ranger PvP guide. The PvE build that you will use is not this build and we will be working on that and hopefully release it in a few days. So before I jump into the video, I do want you guys to be aware that there's going to be some timestamps down below. Also, this video won't have as many combinations as such as the Giant did, because the learning curve is a little bit different on the Ranger and it's more about understanding the battle rather than the combinations. Okay, so this is my build here. This is the first wheel and this is the second wheel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these abilities and explain briefly why I don't have certain abilities, why I have these abilities. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I do want to share some of these stuff in the arena and actually show the abilities how they work. Okay, so first of all, spin kick is just no good. It has a knockup which is useful, but the damage output is not great. Plus, the Ranger is the only one class that is real Ranger. The Witch, she's supposed to get close range because she has really high damage output when she is close range, but the Ranger, that's not the case. So spin kick is pretty useless. True shot is okay. It shoots out in a wide angle and it's good for catching people when they are running side to side or running the big circle, so you can do that and then you can lay into damage, but it just doesn't have a place in this build. Evasive maneuver, it's a useful ability and it's something you get pretty early on. I really like it as a beginner kind of ability for when it comes to learning PvP, and if you find yourself that you're always getting attacked and you've always got something on top of you and you can't kite away well enough, then it might actually be worth you using the evasive maneuver and trading that out for the heal. That's the only change I would actually make in this build, but it's definitely preferable if you have the heal here. Tear and arrow, there's other stuff just like it but better, such as this ability here, so there's no point having it equipped. Blast and Gust, this ability is useful because it's a crowd control. It's the one that you're going to use quite frequently just because you can use it so often. Your range isn't as good as some of the other abilities, but it's okay. Will of the Wind, it's good when you're close range, but for this build, once again, we're trying to get away from them, so you just don't want on the build. Evasive Explosive Shot, or Explosion Shot. You want to have this on all your builds. One, because it makes you invincible while you're jumping. It also inflicts stun on hit, so it's really useful because you're going to run up against Warriors, Valkyrie, and Giants quite frequently. They're going to try and grab you and throw you around. You need to try and cast this ability whenever they're on top of you, so you can actually retreat. Dagger of Protection, just not worthwhile talking about. It's not worth having. Razor Wind, so I'll talk about this more in the arena, but basically it will shoot 6 times and on the 6th shot it will shoot further, and it will also knock down the opponent. The damage is good, it's just an overall good ability, and I'll explain why in a minute. Spin Blade, so this is once again another melee class, it's another melee ability. It's not worthwhile talking about, not worthwhile having on this build. Spinning Shot, this is okay. It applies a small stun, but it can be mitigated against by other players with like frontal guard and stuff, which any skilled players will be using. So it's effective, but it's only sort of effective. Pierce and Arrow, its animation's really slow, the damage output is pretty good, it does have a knockdown, it has a place in this build because it does a couple of things and I'll explain why in a minute. Call of the Earth, so at first I wasn't too sure about this ability. The heal is quite low compared to the Witch as an example, but it does have plus 22 defense, which just that alone is probably making it worthwhile, and that's why it's on this build here. If for whatever reason the enemy's kind of far away, you can't shoot them, you just cast this ability, heal yourself up, increase your defense by 22 for 15 seconds, making it so you can take less damage when they do get on top of you. Flurry of Arrows, the range on it is not fantastic, but it's got good damage and the spread is a little bit there, so definitely worthwhile having and something you're going to use quite frequently. Descendant Current, this is one of your main abilities. It's got a huge animation, however you can make it quicker by casting the ability again, and the range is on it pretty good. It's something that you'll be using quite often. Okay, so let's go and jump into actual combinations, and I'm going to show you some basic stuff. I'm going to talk about some slightly more advanced combinations, but when it comes to the Ranger, it's more about understanding the battlefield and being able to be a responsive player and move with the battle and control the battle. So I can't really teach you guys that. I can give you a couple of tips on how to do it, but that's as far as it goes. Alright, so with the Ranger, there's actually not that many combinations. it's almost the exact same. I can tell you how to use one ability into your second ability, but it's kind of the same across the board because there's no close attacks, melee attacks, and then range. I'll explain now. So this ability here, it's gonna stun, yeah? So we go ahead and we run into the stun, but then we run into a crowd, we use crowd control, a heavy crowd control that is, and then we go into damage. That's basically what your goal is, and you just want to consistently do it while you're being able to stay away from the enemy attacking you. So you press this ability into crowd control, and then back into your actual damage dealer. At that point, the person generally will already be up. Sometimes you'll get a second one of them off in order to apply more damage. So as a ranger, people are always going to be on top of you. It's just a fact of life. So you need to be able to learn on when to use this ability here, which is your mobility, and it's going to make you so you're invincible, but it also acts as a stun. And that's really important to know because you can turn a bad situation into a good situation if you learn how to use it. So it look a little bit like this, and this is a close range ability. If I was back here and I used it, when I jump back, the ability will dodge, or the ability will miss him. So I've got to be very close to him, turn it into a crowd control, and then do the damage. Now I shouldn't have gone ahead and done the second one. I should have only pressed that once to knock him down and then straight into my flurry. Okay, so before I jump into any more combinations, I want to talk about the range in which your abilities can reach and show you what they actually do. This range here, roughly, this is what the warrior can throw his spear and actually miss you. It's going to get close to your face, but it's not just in range. And the witch, I'm pretty sure that's the range roughly for the fireball. So if you can learn this range here, you could really hurt your opponents. It's very important that you learn this and you practice it. So let's have a look at the actual abilities. Let's look at my standard one here, and it's not going to hit him, okay, but it's not going to move me. I'm going to use my flurry here. The flurry is not going to hit him. I have to take a step forward just because it knocks me backwards. Whoop, line myself back up. All right, there we go. I'm going to use my A, which is my standard crowd control, but that's not going to work because I go backwards. However, these abilities here will actually hit him. Pretty confident. This ability, the piercing ability, why it's so good is because not only because it knocks back, but it does heavy amount of damage, and the actual arrow travels slightly further. So that's knocked him backwards. So I need to take a step forward now, like so. I think that's roughly there. Okay, the Y key, the first 5 arrows that it shoots, it's not going to hit him. However, this is effective because one, the last arrow hits slightly further, but it also knocks the person down. But why I actually love this ability is because when the opponent is running from side to side like this, which will happen a lot, they're trying to find themselves an opening and they're waiting for you to blow your cooldowns in order to try and hit them. If I was that ranger, if I was the ranger on the other side right now and I was shooting over here, most of the abilities won't actually hit me because you're running at a speed that's gonna outdo the actual ability speed. However, this ability here, if the person's running side to side, the first 5 arrows will miss. However, the last arrow, it seems to be more accurate, and because of the slightly longer range, it seems to actually hit the person and knock them down. So them running side to side can be a bad thing. Now, I think it's about here roughly. I missed it. Point being is that it definitely is actually slightly further. I'll try it again in a second. This ability here, the main move. Alright, so that's actually hitting. I'm pretty sure I can actually walk back a little bit more. Okay, so this should be the max range. Alright, so as you can see, the first 2 arrows missed him. So that means that the ability progressively gets slightly longer each arrow. So there's not a lot more I can teach you when it comes to combinations for the ranger because it purely is just learning how to react in order to when you use your abilities. But I do want you guys to be aware that whenever you use your heal, you're going to increase your own defense. Make sure you do that often just because that defense mitigation plus 22 is quite a lot. Also with the piercing ability, just here, it gives me plus 20 attack for 10 seconds. So that depends on the actual skill book level of your character. That wraps up today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please consider subscribing to the channel, comment, like, and you know what? Check out our website. It's www.varietymmos.com. There is no exact direction with that website right now, but intending to make it a huge thing in the future for all our MMOs and whatever that we work on. It'd be awesome if you guys take 1 second to check it out and join us in Discord too. I'll make sure I put that link down below. The rest of the video is just going to be a couple of PvP fights that I've randomly selected. That's my one of many clips. So until next time, Buffy out.